Welcome, Sanjeev sir, uh, to this webinar. So, you would have already read about Sanjeev sir's description that he is currently heading the R&D program of QbD Purple Advanced Technologies at Pune, and he has also worked with DBT Energy, worked as a DBT Energy Science Overseas Fellow, and he worked at the prestigious ICT, that is Institute of Chemical Technology in Mumbai. So he has loads of experience, and he will be sharing that with you. Right now, I'll ask Sanjeev sir to introduce him. He is a super senior to all of us, and I really thank him for agreeing to be on this webinar.
Hello, Sanjeev sir. Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And
सबसे पहले वेलकम करूंगा सर इस प्लेटफॉर्म से और
okay,
फ्रॉम टू साइड एज ए जूनियर एंड आल्सो एज ए ऑर्गेनाइजर्स ऑफ दिस प्लेटफॉर्म सब एक चीज शेयर करना चाहूंगा सारे लोगों से कि शायद मेरे लाइफ में बेस्ट सीनियर हमारे लाइफ में अभी तक आई गॉट हिम, क्योंकि मैं कुछ एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर करूंगा अपने ग्रेजुएशन का और इसके थ्रू मैं कुछ मैसेज भी देना चाहूंगा अपने जूनियर्स को या ये फ्रेशर्स को। क्योंकि जब हम लोग कॉलेज में गए थे तो मुझे याद है कि जब फर्स्ट रैगिंग हुआ था तो सर ने, पता नहीं लगता नेम हम लोग का सेम था तो थोड़ा सा सिंपैथी थी तो बचाए, और उसके बाद जो मैंने इनको फॉलो किया और जस्ट लाइक आप किसी चौराहे पे होते हैं और अगर कोई व्यक्ति आपको सही डायरेक्शन बता देता है, अगर 3 डायरेक्शन गलत है और कोई एक डायरेक्शन सही है, तो मैं समझता हूं कि दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर लाइफ। अगर आप गलत डायरेक्शन में चले जाते हो एंड अगर हम एज ए स्टूडेंट बात करते हैं तो सिलेक्शन ऑफ द बुक कहिए या सिलेक्शन ऑफ द एग्जाम, स्ट्रेटजी ऑफ द स्टडी, तो ये सब चीज एक सीनियर्स का बहुत बड़ा रोल होता है। और मैंने ये सारा चीज मतलब फ्रॉम ए सिंगल सीनियर जस्ट आई गॉट फ्रॉम हिम। मैं हमको याद है कि सर को परेशान करने घर पे इनके चले जाते थे और कभी भी ये नहीं हुआ कि कभी परेशान हुए, हमेशा वेलकम करते थे। और शाम हम लोग का एक ये रहता था, साइकिल उठाकर सर के पास चले जाना, सर क्या पढ़े, क्या आगे करना है। क्योंकि सीनियर जो होते हैं आपके पहले वाले पूरे ईयर का वो एक्सपीरियंसेस वो सफर किए हुए रहते हैं, तो वो सारे ड्रॉबैक्स आपको पहले बता देते हैं, आगाह कर देते हैं कि ये सब टीचर्स आपको यहाँ पे कम पढ़ाएंगे या कैसे पढ़ना है, एग्जाम्स में क्या क्वेश्चन आना है, कौन सा बुक का फॉलो करना है, तो सारा चीज मैंने इनसे पाया। और सबसे बड़ा फॉर्चुनेट ये है कि अभी तक स्टिल अभी भी जब भी होता है मुझे लगता है कि सर बहुत ही सोशल साइट्स पे एक्टिव होते हैं या कहीं पे ये हैं, लेकिन मुझे एक बार कहने पे सर तैयार हो गए। सो रियली सर आई एम ऑब्लाइज्ड फ्रॉम दिस थिंग। और अपने जूनियर्स को भी मैं बोलूंगा कि अपने सीनियर से इस तरह का आप संपर्क रखें, आपको बहुत बेनिफिट मिलता है अपने लाइफ में। सो आज मैं हूँ तो एक सर का भी एक रोल है उसमें। थैंक यू सर एंड मोस्ट वेलकम। और मैं चाहूंगा कि सर एज ए ये सुपर सीनियर फ्रॉम बीएन कॉलेज, जस्ट यू गाइड आवर ऑल्सो फ्रेशर्स ऑल्सो अकॉर्डिंग टू द लाइफ ऑल्सो और अकॉर्डिंग टू टॉपिक ऑल्सो, क्योंकि एक लाइफ में भी एक बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है बायोटेक्नोलॉजी में। वही आज भी क्वेश्चन वही है सर कि क्या करना है बायोटेक पढ़ के, जो हम लोग पूछते रहते थे आप लोग से। तो ये चीज है। और दूसरा एक जो आपका सबसे बड़ा अचीवमेंट है सर, और मुझे याद है कि आप शुरू से ही इस चीज को अचीव करना चाहते थे और आपने अचीव किया। तो अगर एक बंदा एक ये करके कुछ अपना स्टार्ट करना चाहता है तो धीरज सर ने तो बताया था कि ठीक है आपके पास इनोवेटिव प्रोजेक्ट है तो गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा ये मिलेगा। लेकिन अगर मान ले मेरा इनोवेटिव नहीं है या मैं कुछ स्टार्टअप करना ही चाहता हूँ, मैं इसी फील्ड में आना चाहता हूँ, तो इन सब चीजों को अपने एक्सपीरियंस के साथ और प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपीरियंस के साथ एक स्टार्टअप एक आम एक स्टूडेंट कैसे कर सकता है, इसको थोड़ा प्रैक्टिकली सर एक्सप्लेन करें तो सबके लिए बेनिफिशियल होगा। थैंक यू सर।
thank you, thank you. Let me start with sharing the screen. No. Okay. So Are you able to see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir. Yes,
slides
sir.
slides are coming. Okay. Okay. So uh, first of all, thanks, uh, Sanjeev, for kind words, and hopefully this is very important part, that how to connect yourself to others. And I'm very fortunate today that I'm in front of you, and in fact I learned my first lesson. And previous speaker Sandeep, what he was telling is basically very appropriately for any career, regardless whether you are in science and technology. Unfortunately, I have a still accent of Bihar, and my English is not, in terms of the pronunciation, very high quality. But if you keep those lessons by Sandeep, basically you can gain more in your career. So that lesson is very important. And as he told, the effort never dies. I think that's a very important theme for any career. And with those words, I will transit to Sanjeev, and I congratulate him for this kind of a foundation, which is organizing the webinar, connecting with the young minds. And in fact, I felt opportunity to connect all of you. And so what I will do today, that I will not go into too much fine details, but I will try to make a general presentation to all of you, that basically what is biotech startups and what are those foundations on which it stands, and hope it will be useful to all of you. So a startup words, if you will remove the biotech, is very, very popular now these days. And you will see a lot of a startup in terms of Zomato, IT sector, service sector. They are coming, gaining success in just 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, getting into the business. But the first thing which you have to learn is biotech startups are slightly different than those. It needs a bit more longer time and more money. And that is one of the reason that the growth rate or the acceleration is relatively slower than the service sector startups. And so you have to prepare yourself for a long journey. And in journey, you will need a lot of money. That is very, very important. But I will try to give some advice. So don't be afraid that how it will work. For that purpose, first you have to understand what is biotech startup. So ideally, whole process is basically to create a innovation into a money generating business. And this is common for all platforms. If you have a innovation which can be marketed, it will generate the money. But where are those innovations? In biotech, right? It must be in our labs, research labs, in universities. But if you look at the history of India in last 70 years, how many technology has come out in terms of the biotech or life science to the market? It's a very few. Why the companies which is existing in those sectors are not betting on those innovations? One primary reason is, for the established industry or companies, this is a risk affair. They do not want to risk. But we cannot escape from this risk very long. And in fact, this is the right time where the concept of a startup comes. So basically, a startup plans are positioned from innovation to a startup, and then you have to create a money generating business. Still, ideas and innovations are very, very important. If they are not with you, you are not going to be successful. So remember this fact that biotech startup cannot be built without an idea or innovation. So idea and innovation is must to begin in a startup. This is the main important thing for a biotech startup. But in our country, the challenges lies how to convert the research hubs and universities to promote a startup. How much we are doing, how much government is doing, that will be partly explained by previous speaker, Dr. Dheeraj. So I will not go into that much details, but I want to give just theme that you must have a concrete idea of a technology. If you not have, you cannot begin the startup. Forget about the money generation and other things. The second part is why we need biotech startup. Why not the established industry can take up those innovations and transform them into technology and then into the business. So the role of biotech startup is very, very important to understand. So basically, you have an idea, you plan it, strategize it, market it, finance it, realize it, and then you get the success. It's a long journey. So starting from idea to plan to a strategy to market to finance, what we do very carefully, we assess the risk involved with the ideas. And then how we do the risk assessment, whether that idea or technology. So first you have to transform the idea into a technology. And what could be the technology? It's not a foolproof technology, but you need to assess the critical things. And what are those critical things? That will come from the your market, where your technology is relevant in the market. If you don't have definition of a market, the risk assessment cannot be done. And in fact, these are the two things which is not well defined in an innovation. And so the big industries are afraid of taking up those. And so the role of a startup is to assess those, define the market. Obviously, you will get the incentive. I will talk about those incentives. What are those incentives? Right. So you must remember that you are doing something which is kind of a risk assessment or market definition. If that is not there, you are not going to be successful in terms of the biotech startups. And the must tell you one thing: who will start a startup? I will give just example of the oldest biotech company, which is Genentech, which was founded more than 40 years ago by two gentlemen. One gentleman was a professor in the University of California, San Diego, and second was a venture capitalist. Both of them realized the power of recombinant DNA technology and started a company in 1976. Right. So if you look at them, still the person who innovates is a central part of the startup. And that is a different than the established business. In established business, not necessarily you will find the innovator would be there. And here in a startup, innovator is always an integral part of the startup. So professors, postdoc researchers, graduate students, all who are engaged in the research activity, in principle, they could be the person who can start a startup. But point is, anyone can be begin the startup. How, that we will see later. But that's the important message is here in a startup, innovator is the integral part. Without whom it is not possible. So a startup has that second typical characteristic which is missing in the business. So basically you can understand, take a car, right? Anyone can start a rented business like Ola and Uber is doing. That is business. What you do there, you buy some cars, rent on them, earns profit. But a startup will build up the car first and then make them on the rent. So a startup includes both parts. It starts its journey from building up the car. So you have to build your own car, then put them on the rent. To building the car, the important part is engine, and that engine is idea or innovation. If you don't have a strong engine, it will not be successful car. You must need other parts in that car, right? And as many as you can add, you will make that many successful model of the car. So this is very, very relevant to understand that a startup always includes an innovator, and innovator drives the whole package towards the success. So very quickly, I will start some advice for the young minds. My first advice point is we need a VIP person. We don't need an ordinary person. Then who is a VIP person? These are not ministers, MLAs, MPs. We need a person with vision and passion. If you have a vision to change the world, if you have a passion to chase your dreams, only then you can successful entrepreneur to begin the startup. So vision and passion is very, very important characteristic and quality of entrepreneur, which will drive the car towards the final destination. So you must understand this fact that you have to be a visionary and passionate person to chase your dreams, then to begin a startup. So you cannot change the world if you don't have a vision, and those visions should be very carefully planned and executed. Right? My second advice would be identify the need for the technology address. Right? So clearly state the problem and find it out where large enough market for this technology. It's difficult for you to understand this because as a researcher, you never ask this question that how to talk about the market in the scenario and how we will address this issue in terms of the starting of business. Right? It's very easy to buy car, put them on the rent. But if I have to build up, right, we have to think about what, right? Like today, you see a lot of innovation coming up in terms of the electric vehicles. Diesel vehicles are there, petrol vehicles are there. There are problems. But to realize those problems, it took 50, 60 years. But the person who thought like 20, 30 years ago that, look, this can cause environmental issues, problems, right, in long run. So we have to find a solution. And we know that if we can mitigate or solve the problem of the environmental pollution, that brand is going to be long existing. But who will do that? Is the existing companies which has already making the cars, ideally they should be there. But you will see somebody else, some new company who is coming up and building up the electric vehicles. Likewise in the biotech startups, right? You know that where we can fit ourselves. For example, there is some chemical reaction, okay, which makes a very important medicine, right, in diabetes, sitagliptin. Sitagliptin is a medicine, right, which is used for the diabetes type 2. And sitagliptin is from years to years being made by the chemical processes. And overall process yield is 20-30%, but you generate a lot of chemicals as a waste material, which is causing the lot of pressure as a environmental clearance. Because those chemicals, if it will come out from the factory to the outside environment, the environment get pollutions. We are more concerned now about the environmental pollution, right? So how to change the method? We need that medicine, because that medicine is also gaining importance in terms of the treating the diabetes, because diabetes is now a prevalent disease in the whole world, right? So somebody have realized this problem, that okay, if you can convert those chemical processes into a clean and green processes, you have a market, right? So Merck and Codexis took up these challenges and developed an enzyme, and Codexis from a startup become a successful business. What they did, they discovered an enzyme transaminases which were catalyzing some critical steps in the process that enhance the yield as well as reduce the chemical load in environment. So you have to, similarly, you have to clearly define where my technology is going to fit into the market. If it is not, I will suggest you a stop, rethink, rebuild your ideas, start from beginning again. But this should be very clearly defined, that what is problem, what is your solution, and is there large enough market for this technology. That's the reason I told you must be a VIP person, because you need a vision, you need a passion. The initial journey is going to be very struggling, but you have to believe in yourself that no, I'm going to provide a solution, I'm going to provide a technology which is going to be long lasting, as well as it will have a big enough market to exist. And opportunity only comes because the bigger industry company have already revenue model, they are earning the profits, they do not want to be take that much risk, right? So that's the reason, if you will ask the people who is working in the reputed industries, biotech industries, sometimes they work hard, they get the technology, they go to the managers, okay, and the manager tells, okay, this is not useful because currently this molecule is not into the market. You feel sad that we have done so much work, right? It has been dumped. I have 3-4 years of work to make these molecules, but company says it's of no value because there is no large enough market. But remember the fact, this molecule can come back, it can come back into the market again, and it is happening with few molecules. They always come, like today's sanitizer, it was there in the market, but the kind of companies which is making now sanitizer is almost multiplied by 100 times and 1,000 times, because all of a sudden see people, there is large enough market, right? So these two things is very important. You have to clearly state the problem, solutions, and you have to consider the market potential. And then I will go to the third, that which is third part of the startup, is team building. Remember, you might be working in a expertise of cancer biology. You find a molecule which is very effective, and now you think that it's a very innovative molecules. This molecule was not there, right? But now the problem is how to go to the next step. And there you have to think, we need a team where people with complementary skill set should come up. Let's say your expertise is building up the molecule at lab scale, right? Second one, who has industrial experiences, who has handling the manufacturing of not this molecule, but this type of molecules. You should be contact with them. You should make a team with them and find it out what is the obstacles, what could be the obstacles to put them into the market. If you are able to do so with teaming with that person, you will understand a lot of problem which you have never thought of. Right? For example, you have made the molecule and second person comes with experience and he asks you, okay, how many kg you can make and how? Then you think, okay, I have used E. coli as an expression platform and it makes 1 gram. For 1 kg, we will need 1000 kg E. coli. Then you say 1000 kg E. coli. Then he said, what will be the cost? Because when you scale up, then you understand there is a lot of problems which was not considered before. That is called downstream processing. Once you have E. coli with those molecules, how to process, purify, and make a molecule of quality matching with the pharma grade. So you need that expertise with yourself. Then you need another molecule which will tell you how to formulate them into the drugs, which was not known for you. You thought this is a molecule. So you see, you gradually define your need and then you build up a team based upon what is required to transform your idea or innovation into technology. Once you create that team, that is going to be work as a unit to deliver the potential technology into the market. And as I told previously, you need to define your market first. If you don't have, it's not going to work. So every part which I'm just talking about is very, very critical for the startups. And be ready for those. Consider these points. I'm not telling that you are going to build up a startup, but whenever the thought of a startup comes, you should think, okay, these are the things which I need to think before starting up. So the fourth part, which is also very interesting, because innovator is involved here in a startup. Obviously, as I told you, that money is very critical for the biotech startup. So you will not have a money. Sometimes you will feel that I'm out of money. What should I do? Then what you have to do is shared incentives, because you have a vision that one day this molecule will into the market. So you have created a company. So what you should do, you should not be very possessive about that I need to 100% share of this company. What you should do, you should provide incentives to your key people who is going to deliver the technology. That is not a money, that is virtual money. Maybe today it's worthy of 10 rupees, but you convince that person with your vision and passion that, look, if you are working with me, if we are going to deliver the technology, because I have a well-established research market, that we are going to be successful. Once we are successful, you will get the return which today you are not getting. So don't hesitate to share your incentive as a founder, as an innovator to others, because this is the one who is going to drive your company to success. So always allow your co-founder or early employees to participate in the ownership of your company. Don't think that I am Tata, I am Ambani, single man who is handling the issue. In a startup, you have to go against that principles. You have to share your incentive, you have to share your initial things. That is literally, it's a virtual money. And it's really very, very important, because one person cannot drive the show. Here you need complementary skill set, because in your team, everyone is as important as you are. Otherwise, you will be just successful as an innovator. If you will not do this exercise of team building and shared incentive, that team is not going to grow and deliver a technology. So remember these things. Don't hesitate in sharing your incentives to others. Right? Now, the fourth part. As a scientific or biotech startup, right, we were never trained in the legal things, banking things, how these things works. So you need constant advice, help, support, guidance, assistance, and tips. Why these tips are necessary? Because you have to discriminate based upon these advices, help, supports, what is good for the company, what is bad for the company. So to decide the good and bad of a company, you need quality legal advice, right? And this is never forget, because one small mistake here in the beginning is going to cost you very much later, right? And if you see that from innovator, I am building up a team of technical people, then you are building up a team of legal people, banking people. So all these peoples, right, is only with you when you have money. If you don't have money, then all of them is going to be out with you. So one way is give them incentive. Second way, you have to work for where from money can come. Luckily, at this moment, Government of India have a lot of initiatives which is promoting entrepreneurship. And just giving you a positive side, that as Dr. Dheeraj earlier pointed out, so far the BIRAC, which is a part of DBT, has already supported 500 projects, and which gave rise to 125 new startups. So all those 500 has been not converted into the startups. So there are failures, right? So, but you have created 125 startups, but not all startups is going to be cover up big market. Some may be a small market, because it depends upon the technology, whether your technology is incremental, means there are existing technology, but you just do the value addition, or you have a completely new disruptive technology. So both is going to be very important. It could be an incremental technology, it could be a disruptive technology, but both have market if you have a research supporting your hypothesis. And not only this government initiative, right now a lot of investors are ready to put the money into the biotech. But for them to convince, right, you have to do what earlier I have pointed out. You need a vision, you need a passion, you need a good team, you need a good technology. That technology is not only in terms of the innovation, but also in terms of the execution. So all these things you need to couple and go to the investor and try to convince them that please put your money, I have a good chance of success. So right now a lot of investors are interested. In fact, Government of India has in fact last week also initiated a lot of money pumping into this investment business of biotech. So don't be hesitate to take your first step towards the biotech step, given that you have a good technology with you. If you have a still idea, you can take help of the DBT or other agencies which promotes these things, right? So my next advice would be, once you have this, you have to really careful about what is my business model, how the end product is going to be reach into the market, what are the things which is needed for them. And this model may be not concrete, but you have to building up this model and go to a process called DBT: design, build, test, design, build, test, design, build, test. And you do iterative times this business model, and many times you will see that a small changes is accumulating, and ultimately you have a concrete business model. So business model should have a value proposition, as I told you, whether it is an incremental technology, right? whether it is a disruptive technology, how you are going to generate the revenue, who is going to buy it. Do need a value chain, means how it is going to reach to them, right? So this is also a exercise which should go parallelly, right, with your development, technology development. You start developing the business model, and don't hesitate to put your scientific approach there in the business model, because the existing business model is not there. The business model followed by the industry is well defined. Here we have to develop the business model for my product, and that product, remember, is not into the market. So for that product, there is no business model. So business models are very, very important, right, in terms of the getting towards the success of data startups. And as I would like to mention that, like, whatever Sanjeev is doing, whatever his foundation is doing, is networking. So there will be a set of people who is complementary skill set, technical people, legal people, finance people, who are with you working day and night, right? But ultimately you have to reach to the customer, right? Those customers are lying in different geographical location, and now you know the importance of networking is very high. Something you put onto the Twitter or Facebook, you will get all of a sudden thousands of reactions. And good part is they don't know you. If you go in front of him, they don't know your face. What they remember is your words, right? So now this has a very central part to play in terms of the success of the biotech startup. So never forget, for networking, keep good networking of your technology. It will help you to build up the good market. And this is very personal advice. Be lean, conjuice, open, and inform yourself. Don't think that I have everything with you. So what you have to supposed to do, money is not sufficient. So you have to think how to work with those a small amount of money. Let's say I don't have too much money to afford an accountant. What I will do, I will hire someone for hourly basis. I will pay them, because I know I don't need his whole day time. We just need hourly time. So you can put the contractual worker, right? And the most important part is open. Open-mindedness is very important. And that is, what is that? The problem with close-minded people is that their mouth is always open. So you have to be open-minded, means you have to practice these things, that how to close your mouth. Because whatever you will speak, you are at a given time with 10 competent people are there with you. Technical people are there who has a complementary skill. There is an investor who meets with a lot of 100,000 innovators every day. Because investor is not tailor-made for me. These banking people, legal people are not tailor-made for me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk with them. I'm going to tell my ideas. I'm going to convince that I have a marketable technology, a scalable technology, right? Right. So open-minded means here you have to speak the words which is very, very relevant to them, because they are not the innovator. So the secret of innovations or know-how should always be with you. They should not go to these people, because once you have revealed that one to them, you are in a very high risk proposition, because they can copy you, because still you are struggling with your IP team. You don't have a clearly patent teams which is working day and night. Somebody else has that capability. There is already well-defined team in the company. So if they know the secret of your molecule, they know the innovations, they are going to copy it. So you have to be open-minded, where you have to be very careful about what you are speaking and what you are sharing to others, right? And the last advice for everyone is, don't take those 9 points very seriously. Take those points with you, keep imbibe all of them, and then just do it. If you will think and try to intercalate all those qualities, you are never going to be perfect. And no one is perfect. As I pointed out, like Dr. Sandeep earlier was mentioning, I have also very poor pronunciation. In fact, my daughter says several times that you are speaking this wrong. But okay, that's a part I need to improve on. But what is my strength? You have to identify your strength. That limitation is there. You can work on them, improve on them, you gain more. But whatever the point I discussed should be in your mind. It should not inhibit you to take the first step. So just do it. Don't give up and get ready for the best roller coaster ride. So, in summary, if you will see the life of a science startup, you start with a founder, experienced executives, and advisor. That is the team formation. Once you have a team formation, you go for the scientific risk reduction, which is very important. I have an idea, I have a molecule, but now maybe I should test them whether it is scalable or not. And unfortunately, in the academic scenario, you never do this scientific risk reduction. Maybe here you will do the experiments which is not worthy of a publication, but it will inform you about the risk reduction. So the risk reduction through the experiments and data is very, very important. And once these two things are done, go for patent, develop a business model, go for cyclic process, iterative process of design, build, and test your business model. Once you are ready with them, formulate your company, do the fundraising, right? Keep doing the risk reductions, start operations, and go into the market. Right. So this is very, very important to understand the few things like a team formation, risk reduction, business model, fundraising, and I have just give you few important points how you should be doing this. And with these qualities, advice points, probably it will help your journey to become an entrepreneur. And last slide, which is about opportunities. I'm just giving you two figure. The left side figure is very unfortunate. I think Sanjeevani Foundation is from Bihar. And if you look at the operational biotech parks, and this is very, very recent data of Innovate India, you see everywhere yellow, right? All parts of the yellow, few parts like north east, Jammu Kashmir, and three part Bihar, UP, and MP does not have operational biotech parks, which is very sad. I come from BN College. I know what kind of a quality of students there are, and maybe this webinar is for multiple audiences. But I want to take some positive steps from the Sanjeevani Foundation, that if you can work with our earlier colleague Dheeraj, that how to build up this kind of operational biotech parks in Bihar, then obviously you will nurture the new talent or young mind which is there, and then you will be able to successfully keep them to the Bihar, and then we can grow as a much better independent Bihar in terms of the industry and the personal and societal growth. If you look at the sector-wise representation of a startup, 62% are from biopharma, 8% are from bioagri, and here in Bihar, no pharma company is there. But you can capitalize the bioagri, bioindustry, bio IT, bio research, right? And obviously, you can go for the biopharma too, because a lot of biopharma companies is now doing outsourcing the R&D activity. So keeping yourself in the Bihar will not inhibit you to do the R&D activities. So there are opportunity, and I think it's a good network which Sanjeev has created through, I think, a bunch of people. I think a lot of motivational speakers, some technical peoples are there, some young minds are there. So I think Sanjeev has a good team which can be designed or motivated to work like startups, where they can talk about this. And obviously, for any kind of a help, I will be there, and obviously I will put and extend my support to you. And so if you have any questions, please go ahead. Thank you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
पीयूष
sir.
सर देखिए क्वेश्चंस.
Thank you, sir, for these brilliant advice points. There's a question from Shraddha. Can I take help of NGOs for my startup?
So NGOs, right? He's asking about NGOs, right?
Yeah.
So what I will suggest that again, the key point is a stress on your innovation. Don't define your team member beforehand. First define your innovation and then market. Then decide who could be the team members. Don't start your journey from NGOs, right? First, get a clear-cut idea. What is your innovation? Is it ready for the market? If it's not, what sort of people we need to begin with? Then you can build.
There is a question from Rashid. Can you please highlight some names of government initiatives that can help in startup? I would like to say that Dheeraj sir had a detailed session on BIRAC, and it's already there on our YouTube channel. But sir, can you also highlight some other initiatives other than BIRAC which can be used for?
So basically, if you go to the recent website, Innovate India, right? They have 30-40 page write-ups, and they have detailed out all the initiatives which was by the government. And as I told you, one of the information provider could be the Biotech Park. And unfortunately, in our area, there is no. So there is a lot of issues regarding the correct information passing to them. So if you connect yourself with some kind of a biotech park, like in Pune, we have a venture center. And if you have any issue, contact me. I will try to contact my link is to the venture center, and probably if you will go to the regularly to their website, they have a lot of training programs, talks. So basically, that will educate you more in terms of what is going on currently. So connect yourself to the some venture center, and they provide all sort of help. They provide regulatory help. They provide the IP help. They banking help. There are a lot of banks comes and company regularly on the regular basis. That's the reason I'm stressing that whoever is there, Sanjeev, Piyush, or anyone, and I think it's time to get some formulate some idea and develop, encourage DVT to put some biotech park there in the city.
Okay, sir. Nowadays, we also hear about crowdfunding. So how is
Yes. Look, again, crowdfunding is again the same points, right? So look, you need to be very careful that हम किससे पैसा ले रहे हैं. अगर वो सोर्स डिफाइन नहीं है, मैंने बोला बायोटेक का स्टार्टअप रेट इज वेरी स्लो, राइट? So what is the mentality of that person who is giving you to the money is very, very important, right? So crowdfunding is the last, I will prefer last resort, where you have try to convince the government agency, they say no, investor says no, then you say no, I have a strong confidence that my technology is going to work, then you should go with crowdfunding. That's the last I will suggest.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that. I do not see any more questions, but if any of the participant wants to ask a question, you are welcome. Okay, so
I will ask a question, Piyush.
Yeah. Yes,
Hello.
Lakshmi sir. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I
Yeah.
have a question. So I keep on hearing about angel investors. So can you tell me little bit about that? So
Uh,
what is angel investor? I've seen like lot of people they tell that okay we are angel investors. So
okay.
what is that? What is that concept?
So basically, that concept is basically they do not want to reveal, in a very literal terms, I will say, they do not want to reveal the identity who is providing the money to general public. But in terms of the documentation, regulatory documentation, banking documentation, it is there, right? Like say some of the Google has put somewhere money. It comes into the media, right? You come to know that Google is investing in the Geo, right? You come to know. But there are many startup companies which we don't know the name of those companies, but from where they are getting the money. So the money provided to those startups, which is in terms of the documentation, regulation is there, but it's not in the public platform. So we call them angel investor because they are angel for those startups who is providing the financial support to reach to the main objective of those startups.
So is there any platform to contact angel investors? Is there any platform in India or anywhere in the world?
That I'm not aware of, but what you can do, you if you connect some Biotech Park, probably you will come to know about them. So basically, you look, you have to connect to somewhere where those are the angel investors and investors. They don't come to us. What they comes, they want to come to a hub where the technology is being made. And this concept of Biotech Park is basically to transforming those innovation or discovery into the technology. So angel investor directly come to there and they want to comparative assessment. Maybe what you are thinking, there are many few other startup is doing. So how the angel investor will know what is your competitive value? So most likely they go to the places where already there is a research hub, technology hub, and they try to pick up the information from there. And so it's very important if you connect yourself to some startup centers like venture centers, which we have in India, almost every part.
Yeah, very good information. I didn't know all about any of these things. So can you please tell us little bit about the biotech parks, very in simple words, except from the startup companies that comes to my mind when I think about the biotech park. What are other things that are included in that?
In Biotech Startup, in
No,
Biotech
biotech
Park.
park. Yeah.
Okay, Biotech Park, basically whatever I told you, that whatever you need for the team building, you will get the complementary technical set of peoples there, because there are like more than 100 companies in good, like in Pune there are more than 100 companies are there. So let's say you need expertise in microfluidics, you have some technology, so you will see the next person is there with that expertise, so you don't have to go out. So basically one set of people is technical people. Second of set of people, there is a very strong intellectually IP management people are there. Whatever you have, they will give you a real assessment whether your discovery or technology has a patentability, has a novelty. So you quickly risk assess, okay, what I'm thinking and what the line of product we am trying to make is there already or not. So they have the second unit, which is the IP management unit. They are going to provide you very critical support, and that is going to reduce your risk. And careful, डोंट बी फॉल्स पॉजिटिव, राइट? आपका आइडिया है, अगर पेटेंटेबिलिटी और नोबेलिटी टीम कहती है कि नहीं है, ओके, rethink before taking the next step. So that is the another part in the biotech park. It is there. Third part, there are many costly instruments which you cannot buy as a startup, so they provide the instrumentation support also, right? They have also a funding part where you will see the bank is ready to put the money on your ideas. So the banking sector is there. So all sort of the things which is required to groom a startup is already there in the Biotech Park venture center. And basically those venture centers basically connected to themselves through the government program or government initiatives. And so basically it's kind of percolating to the down innovator. So I think there are a lot of things. I think you should go and plan a visit to good, like in C Camp is there in the Bangalore, Venture Center is in the Pune, and these are some good places where you will see all those facilities are there. And in fact, if you look at this, their website, they also keep doing the trainings, they keep doing the webinars, so you can connect with them and you will probably get to know more.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjeev sir.
Okay.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, we can thank our speakers and then Sanjeev sir can conclude it.
हाँ, बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट सेशन रहा सर, और बहुत ही सिंपली फ्रॉम बिगनिंग से क्या क्या इनिशियल स्टेप्स रखना है, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ रहा कि हम लोगों को पहले अपने आप को इवेल्युएट करना पड़ेगा बिफोर स्टार्टअप। जैसे हम अगर किसी ड्रीम को देख रहे हैं तो प्रैक्टिकल चीज़ ये रहा कि फर्स्ट यू इवेल्युएट योर सेल्फ एंड योर प्लान एंड स्ट्रैटेजी एंड देन गो फॉर द योर मिशन। तो ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट सेशन रहा। दूसरी चीज़ सर का ये चल रहा है, ये इनोवेशन खुद किए हैं, तो थोड़ा उस पर जोर देते तो हमारे इसके लिए ये होगा, मतलब मोटिवेट करेगा कि हमारे ही बीच से थोड़ा सा अपने वर्क को थोड़ा सा हाईलाइट कर दें सर। तो 1 मिनट 2 मिनट में क्या कर रहे हैं अभी वहाँ पे, मोटिवेट करेगा क्योंकि
so we have here a company called QbD. So our company is basically we are two complementary people. I am the one who is working in the upstream, and there is another person who is working in the downstream. So basically, we complement each other. So basically, this complementarity, let us put this a startup of QbD, and we are dealing with majority of the API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, and the functional foods, where we are trying to make for example, you have a drug called as a laxative is called lactulose. So lactulose is a drug which is already there in the market from 1982, but unfortunately in our scenario in India, all the lactulose is being imported from the European countries. We are not going to produce this API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, in our country. So what we have done is kind of we have developed a method of enzyme based, and this enzyme based method is kind of at least 2-3 times more yield than the chemical method, as well as it generates a small amount of polluants to the environment. So this is one of the critical projects. There are many projects where we are working, where subtle purification and the natural molecules are being downstream improvised in terms of the purity and making them into the active pharmaceutical ingredients. Because these are the two areas where we are working, and a lot of fermentation derived product we are also working. So I will open it. Like if someone is interested for training or something else, I think most welcome. You can contact me, and I think we have a good setup for training.
ये तो सर आपने पहले से भी एश्योर्ड किया था कि कोई भी हमारे जूनियर्स अगर कंसल्ट करते हैं तो आप उनको गाइड करने के लिए। बहुत अच्छा है सर, और हमेशा आपका कोऑपरेशन की जरूरत हम लोगों का रहेगा, इसलिए ये और है ना। एंड थैंक यू सर फॉर योर काइंड ये लेक्चर।
Okay, thank you for invitation and wish you all good luck. Okay.
ठीक, थैंक यू सर।
Thank you.